Lesbian detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, lesbian detective. Lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message. I present to you the lesbian detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Guys, I am super hyper today.
Yeah.
I went to Dutch Bros and I got this order and people tell me to do a fireball shot. And I'm like, what is that? So I did it. I should have looked into what a fireball shot was before I took it and put it in my drink. But I been on a roll all morning. Like I just been, ready to move. I think my boss really loved it because I worked my butt out today. But she's like, man, this is the most she has ever done. Because I just been hype. I don't know when it's going to wear off because I drank that coffee around 10 something. And it's still what time? Almost 7. And I still have energy for days.
And I'm about to crash out. Saturday night, we watched the Canelo fight. It was a real struggle just to stay awake. And then last night I watched the playoffs for the WNBA, my team, Seattle Storm, against the Aces, Las Vegas Aces, and they got whooped.
They got a spanking.
So, yeah, now I'm tired.
And I'm not. I think, and that's why I got the coffee because we've been having some long nights. Guys, we're old, okay? We can't stay up like we used to do. But we still need this episode, and I'm going to try to slow down because I'm just on 10. So bear with us this episode.
Yeah.
We got one person hype off coffee. Got one person probably need a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get into the episode. Christmas of 1985 had a cast of quiet frosts over the town. Streets were lined with twinkling lights. Smoke curled from the chimney, and the laughter of family gathered for the holidays floated through the cold night air. Most were wrapped in the warmth, routine, and the comfort of tradition, but not everyone. A young nurse living alone in a small, isolated cabin just outside town was about to experience a holiday no one would ever forget. Within days, she would vanish without a trace, and soon after, her body would be discovered in a shallow pond just steps from her front door. At first glance, it seemed like a tragic accident, a slip, a fall, a misstep in the icy December cold. The authorities called it an unlucky drowning. But the more her family and friends looked, the more the story unraveled. Her cabin had been disturbed in ways that made no sense. Personal items scattered, clothes left in a strange place, her car parked oddly, the driver's seat pushed back far beyond what her small frame would ever require. Outside, her dogs wandered, hungry and anxious, as if they had sensed something was wrong. Then there was a small detail that will haunt her loved ones forever. A nursing uniform that didn't match the one she had worn at work. A voicemail on her answering machine that seemed off, as though someone was watching and waiting. When her body was found, Her clothing didn't fit. Trousers too long, shoes too large, a jacket that wasn't hers, and a black t-shirt no one recognized. And then there was a barrel, a burnt barrel, that someone swore they had seen in the water, but which vanished without explanation. Was it an accident, or had someone returned her to the pond, trying to hide what really happened? The authorities closed the case, declaring it a tragic drowning. But for those who knew her, the questions never went away. Who would do this? How could a life end so violently and mysteriously and yet leave so few answers? Tonight, we dive into the disappearance and death of a young nurse in Fayetteville, North Carolina. A case full of strange clues, an unanswered question, and chilling possibility. A case that still whispers its secrets through the cold December air. This is the case of Debbie Wolfe. Deborah Ann Wolfe was born on June 19, 1957 in Arkansas, the daughter of an Air Force sergeant and a homemaker. She grew up in a military family, moving where duty called. She had 3 brothers, 2 older and 1 younger, and by all accounts, she was close with them. But tragedy seemed to haunt the Wolfe family. Her older brother Pete died in 1982 at just 27 years old. Years later, both of her surviving brothers will also die young, never making it past their mid-50s. Debbie herself was carved out a path of independence by 1985. At 28, she had recently graduated from nursing school. She worked long shift at the Veteran Administration Medical Center. Co-workers described her as dependable, kind-hearted, and deeply responsible. Her home was a small cabin tucked away in the woods, just off MacArthur Road. From the outside, it looked cozy, almost perfect, but it was also isolated. Her nearest neighbor were out of sight. Her 2 German shepherds, Morgan and Mason, kept her company, their presence both comforting and protective. And just a few steps from her door lay a pond, still, dark, and quiet. That Christmas, Debbie visited her mother and stepfather. She exchanged gifts. Everything seemed normal. No one at the holiday table could have known it would be the last time they ever see her alive. The day after Christmas, December 26, Debbie finished her shift at the hospital around 4 p.m. A coworker remembered sharing coffee with her that afternoon. Debbie was wearing a long-sleeve nursing uniform, and when her colleague spilled coffee on her sleeve, Debbie laughed it off. That uniform, stained but unforgettable, has never been seen again. After work, Debbie drove away. Whether she made it home safely, no one knows for sure. The next morning, December 27, Debbie failed to show up for her shift at 8 a.m. For most people, missing a single day of work might not seem alarming, but for Debbie, on time, reliable, and devoted to her patient, it was unthinkable. Coworkers called her house, no answer. By the afternoon, their concern had grown enough to reach her mother, Jenny. Jenny and her husband, John, along with a family friend, Kevin, drove out to Debbie's cabin. What they found was disturbing. The moment Jenny and Kevin and John approached Debbie's cabin, a creepy sense of unease took hold. Something was off. Morgan and Mason, her loyal German shepherd, roamed the front yard without directions, their usual calm replaced by restless hunger. At first glance, it seemed harmless, but anyone who knew Debbie would have recognized the subtle alarm in their behavior. The yard itself offered more questions than answers. Empty beer cans were scattered across the frosty-covered grass, not the habit of a woman known for her meticulous order. and not a brand Debbie ever drank. Her car sat oddly in the driveway, parked differently than usual. The driver's seat was pushed far back, almost unrecognizable for her petite 5'3" frame. Whoever had been behind the wheel had not been her. Inside, the scene grew even stranger. The cabin was in disorder. Personal items lay scattered across the floor as if torn from the drawers or hastily discarded. A nursing uniform lay abandoned on the kitchen floor. Jenny's heart sank. She knew her daughter. Debbie never left clothing laying about. But even stranger was the uniform itself. It was a short sleeve. Unlike the long sleeve uniform Debbie had worn to work the previous day, the one marred by a coffee stain from a colleague's spilling cup. The long sleeve uniform had vanished, leaving no trace. And then there was the answer machine. A male voice filled the room, echoing oddly in the small cabin. "Hey Deb, miss you here at work. Just wondering you're doing, if you able to call me up here at the war. I'm at blank, or give me a call at home tonight. You've been out a lot of days. You make me worry when you miss another one. Just wanted to make sure you're okay. Bye." Something about that message didn't sit right. Debbie had worked her shift on Thursday, December 26th, and had not been out a lot of days. The words seemed almost rehearsed. The concern, forced. A settled chill ran down Jenny's spine. With no other leads, the family called the Cumberland County Sheriff Department. The reply was odd. A search could not officially begin for 72 hours. Time, precious and fleeing, was slipping away. When deputies finally arrived on the morning of Tuesday, December 31st, they brought bloodhounds and measures air of authorities. But the search felt quick. The officers moved slowly across the properties, overlooking key areas. Jenny's anxiety deepened when she realized the lake, the very body of water just beyond Debbie's front door, musty, cold, and over 5 feet deep in place, had not been checked. Captain Jack would later claim the deputies assumed the family had already searched it. Yet at that moment, standing by the shore, Jenny could only feel the sharp pain of dread that the answer she sought might already be slipping from reach. Dissatisfied and desperate, Jenny took matters into her own hand. On January 1st, 1986, she hired Gordon, a trusted family friend with experience in rescue search. Wrapped in diving gear, Gordon slipped beyond the icy surface. After just 2 minutes, he noticed it. 2 sets of footprints, drag marks across the muddy bottom, leading deeper into the pond. The pond was shallow near the bank, only 3 feet deep, but as he followed the track toward the center, the water deepened. 30 feet from shore, 5.5 feet deep, something caught his eye. A dark particular option shape inside what appeared to be a 55-gallon oil drum, a burnt barrel with holes along its side. Debbie had one of those barrels near her cabin, used to store firewoods and occasionally for target practice. Heart pounding, Gordon surfaced and called for assistance. Deputies arrived and recovered the body. It was confirmed. Debbie Wolfe was dead. Yet the barrel itself vanished from the official stories. Jenny recalled walking away from the pond, hearing investigators behind her discussing how they would raise it later. She was told it would remain in the lake overnight and be retrieved the following day. But when she returned, the barrel was gone. Police later denied that it ever existed. Even after draining parts of the pond, there was no trace. Gordon stood by his memory, insisting he had seen Debbie's body within the barrel, Authorities, however, suggest he had merely mistaken her jacket in the water for a container. To this day, the bearer remained a ghost in the story and is absent a chilling departure.
The autopsy followed on Thursday, January the 2nd, 1986, performed by Dr. William Oliver of the North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office. Officially, Debbie Wolfe had drowned, but the findings deepened the mystery rather than closing it. Only half a teaspoon of water found in her upper airway. Her eyes and mouth were closed, usually for drowning victims. The characteristic white froth that typically marks someone who has drowned alive was absent. Small abrasions were found on her fingers, yet her system was free from drugs and alcohol. Despite the irregularities, the case was closed as an accidental death. Captain Watts suggested Debbie may have slipped into the icy pond while playing with her dogs, becoming disoriented in the frigid water. Hypothermia was his theory, had rendered her unable to escape the shallow, gently stopping lake. The water's cold made it impossible to determine precisely when she had died. Jenny could not reconcile this explanation. Most of the water was shallow, gently sloping, not treacherous enough to trap her daughter. Months later, when Debbie's belongings were returned, more questions surfaced. Her clothing bore no resemblance to what she would normally wear. Brown corduroy trousers hung too long. A bra measured 38C rather than her usual 34B. And she wore U.S. men's size 6 Nike sneakers rather than her woman's size 7. She wore an army field jacket with no name tag, not the one she favored belonging to her brother, and a black Pittsburgh Steelers t-shirt that no one could have ever seen her in before. Each detail hinted that the body placed in the pond had been dressed deliberately, as if by someone else. The inconsistencies whispered a dark possibility. Debbie Wolfe's death was no accident. Two men in Debbie's life had long unsettled Jenny. Both were volunteers at the hospital where Debbie worked, and both had a pattern of unwanted attention towards her. Volunteer A, the persistent caller. This is the man Jenny and several friends pointed to first. Who was he? A hospital volunteer who somehow got Debbie's home number and began calling her repeatedly. According to the family, the calls were constant, intrusive, and unwelcome. He had a documented history of psychiatric illness, a detail that made Jenny nervous and made investigators take notice. What he did, he phoned Debbie almost constantly in the weeks before her disappearance. He was questioned by police the night Debbie's body was pulled from the pond. He reportedly gave an alibi but refused to submit a polygraph. Then, within days, he left the state. Why the family suspected him? His behavior matched a classic pattern of escalation, repeated calls, fixation, the kind of attention that can turn dangerous if rejected. The fact he refused a polygraph test and left town so soon after being questioned looked bad to Jenny. What the records say, he was questioned and then, according to official accounts, no further detained or charged, at least not publicly. There is no public record tying him physically to the scene, and no documented forensic link has ever been released. But from an investigator's point of view, refusal to take a polygraph test and leaving the area are red flags worth examining more closely. Open questions about Volunteer A. Where exactly was he the night Debbie disappeared? Who can corroborate his movements after the questioning? Did anyone ever check phone logs or hospital records to place him? If the barrel existed and was later removed, did he have an opportunity to return to the property? Those follow-ups, if they were ever done, were never made public. The persistent pursuer, the voicemail guy. A different volunteer, also at the hospital, is the only other person Jenny feared. Who he was, another hospital volunteer who frequently asked Debbie on dates, always rejected. According to friends, he is widely believed by the family to be the voice on the answering machine. The man who left that slightly chilling message about Debbie missing a lot of days. What he did, he persistently asked Debbie out despite being repeatedly turned down. He was also interviewed by police after Debbie was found. Why the family suspected him. His persistent romantic pursuit, the voicemail left from the hospital, which seemed inconsistent with Debbie's attendance record, and the fact his calls overlapped with the time frame of her disappearance made him a focal point of suspicion for Jenny and several friends. What the record says, police questioned him and, according to official statements, cleared him. He was publicly considered not to be involved, but like many cleared people in cold cases, the family remained unconvinced. Open questions about Volunteer B. Was the voicemail analyzed? Could the hospital phone from which it was left be traced to a specific extension or person? Were his phone records and contacts checked? Did he have access to Debbie's schedule and when she worked? Or have a motive beyond romantic obsession? Police said they interviewed him, but what did they find in those interviews that satisfied them? The tall, muscular, clean-cut man, a party lead left untouched. This one comes from witnesses and later posts, a house party attendee who cropped up in recollections and memories. Who was he? Described by someone who knew Debbie in the early 1980s as a tall, muscular, clean-cut, handsome man, seen with Debbie at a house party during Christmas week. The witness said this was definitely her type and that the encounter was never pursued by investigators. Why this matters: when witnesses recall a specific person seen with Debbie around the time of her disappearance, investigators typically try to identify and interview that person. That doesn't appear to have happened in any meaningful way, or at least there's no record of it. Open questions about the party man. Who hosted the party? Who else was there? Why was no follow-up done or recorded on this lead? Could this man have been a date, an acquaintance, or something more sinister? If he was never identified, that gap alone is troubling. For the rest of her life, Jenny held firmly to her belief. For the rest of her life, Jenny held firmly to her belief. Debbie had been abducted, kept alive for days, then murdered. The body had been returned to her property and placed in the pond, disguised as a tragic accident. Captain Watts, steadfast in his own narrative, continued to insist that Debbie's death had been nothing more than an accidental drowning, a tragic misstep near a frozen lake. The passage of time did little to ease the pain or the mystery. Jerry Wolfe and Jenny Edwards both passed away in 2002. John Edwards, Jenny's second husband, had died in 1999. They were laid to rest alongside Debbie in Arcadia Cemetery, Louisiana, leaving only questions in the still winter air. Debbie's remaining siblings, John and Joseph, also succumbed relative young, 55 years old, in 2011 and 2015, respectively, adding a haunting pattern to the family's history of early deaths. As the case has been officially closed and classified as accidental, all police records were purged. No one was ever formally named a suspect, leaving Debbie Wolfe's fate suspended in the shadows and speculation, a puzzle that would never be fully solved. Before we end this case, let's remember the young woman that died. Debbie Wolfe was more than a young nurse who vanished on a cold December day. She was a daughter, a friend, a presence that filled rooms with warmth and laughter. She lived simply, quietly, yet her life left a mark on everyone who knew her. And when she disappeared, the world she left behind was suddenly fractured, uncertain, and haunted. Her mother, Jenny, refused to accept silence. She refused to bow down to the explanations handed down, or to let the strange circumstances fade into memory. Every odd detail, every unanswered question became a call to action. She combed through the evidence, retraced footsteps, questioned every story, fighting tirelessly, often against the very system that should have protected her daughter. Jenny's love became her compass. Jenny's love became her compass, her grief, a relentless fire. She demanded answers, pursued leads others ignored, and held onto Debbie's memory without a fierce devotion. Though the confusion, the disbelief, the whisper of doubt, she never let Debbie's voice be forgotten. And perhaps that is Debbie's legacy, the courage of a mother who would not rest until the story of her daughter was heard, until the world remembered that a life, no matter how brief, deserved justice, remembrance, and honor. Debbie Wolfe may have left this world too soon, but through her mother's fight, through the memories of those who loved her, she continues to live, a quiet, unwavering presence that refuses to be erased. This is the case of Debbie Wolfe. Now let's get into some theories.
Theories.
Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Research and do your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives.
You or me?
Good?
I feel like my first question is, do you think it was an accidentally death
No.
or a murder?
A murder.
Let me tell you something. She had a lot of stalkers. I'm just like, for real. She had 2 guys that was coming after her that wanted to be with her. And it's like, it could be both of them. Like, you don't even know which one could it be. You got volunteer A that was calling her and asking her on dates and trying to get with her. And he did have seem like a mental illness. So that could have stalking behavior. Then you have number 2. And that's the one I kind of go for more because they think he was the answer machine guy. We all know the answer machine guy, like, oh, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. Where you been? You haven't been at work. And her mom was like, no, my daughter only missed 1 day at work. And why is he calling? Like, that makes no sense. Like, my daughter never missed work. Like, she's always at work. I'm more for the answer machine guy number 2 because I feel like he left that voicemail for a reason. He left it to say like, oh, she wasn't at work. She'd been missing for so long. But he must didn't realize that her family was going to come so soon to look for her. What if she was still alive? Because it took the police 2 days to come out there and search for her. And then 1 or 2 more days to actually find her body. What if he had her still alive, like wherever he kept her at, and he made that voicemail to cover his tracks? And then when he was done with her, he unalived her, put her in that barrel, and put her in the pond. I think it's volunteer number 2. And let's say one thing, what hospital that have all these volunteers with so much problems? I mean, like, your volunteers are stalking your nurses.
They should be screened.
First of all, I would never go to this hospital. Like,
Right.
let me know. I know. I think it's volunteer number 2, but I do think mustache man is very important. What if volunteer B was actually stalking her and he saw her with the mustache man and he got jealous like, oh no, I want to be with you. Don't be with this other man. And he got mad. And she like, look, I don't like you. She finally like probably stood up and said, hey, I don't like you. I don't want to be with you. And I feel like the reason why they couldn't find her uniform and she had different clothes on. Let's talk about the different clothes on. You couldn't even scan, like, do DNA tests on that. Come on now. Because he kidnapped her with her uniform still on. And he kept the uniform. And he put his clothing on her. And when he kidnapped her and unalived her. I mean, that's my theory.
What's also really odd is the police department, they kept like having them weighed and then they were saying that she wasn't down there in the pond. It took everybody to do the investigation, and even whenever they handed this information on a silver platter, they would deny it and say that it wasn't so, right? There was a bunch of interviews that they did towards some of the suspects that wasn't released, but yet they ruled out certain suspects. So it's super sus. Like, they're not wanting to look into this case, maybe because they already know what the answer is and they're trying to sway everybody away. It's almost like they're trying to obstruct justice themselves. They don't want this case to be solved. I don't know.
It's like they hiding something.
Yeah.
Like, what if the volunteers had family members in law enforcement? We don't know Captain Jack. We don't know if he had kids or if he had a nephew that was probably stalking her and did have this background of hurting women. Like, we don't know, because him covering it up so fast, it seemed like he knew what happened to her and he knew the person that probably hurt her, and he like, okay, let me cover up this person crime. And let's be honest, this person didn't stop. He probably unalived another woman because his target is dead. So what he gotta do? Get another target.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it just seemed like a lot. And the barrel seemed like so important information. This man said he went down and he saw it. Like, he saw it. Like, no. They treat me like, oh, no, you just saw her jacket. I think he know the difference between a jacket. A jacket is barely anything.
Right.
But a barrel's big. It's gigantic. You tell me
Right.
this man got that confused? That's the...
And even the autopsy showed that she didn't drown in a lake because she would have had certain signs. But yet the police, the sheriff, whoever thinks that they know more than what's the facts are, you know? So it's just super, super sus. Obviously, at least to me, somebody unalived her, threw her in a pond, set up a whole scene, but it doesn't make sense.
Which guy you think it is? Volunteer A or Volunteer B?
I don't know. I just know somebody did something to her. But even so, there was another guy at a party.
Right. Volunteer A, Volunteer B, it's like they both seem sketchy, you know? Volunteer A, after he talked to police, he ran away. Then Volunteer B, he seemed like the voicemail guy. So it's like, you don't even know which one it could possibly be. Shoot, were they working together? I don't even know.
Right.
You know, shoot, they probably was working together. It's just, this case was so mishandled. And to me, I feel like it was a cover up. Don't know what they was covering up, but I feel like they was.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you are North Carolina police, let's try to get the cold case department to reopen this case, because I feel like it could be solved. And I feel like whoever hurt her, they didn't stop with her. They probably are unalive or in jail right now because they didn't stop with her. It doesn't seem like, we don't know, we probably have a serial killer at large because the police didn't care. Probably more women got unalive because of this situation.
Right.
I'm going to put a poll in, and I'm going to ask you guys, do you think it was like an accident death or unaliving? Or also, do you think it's Volunteer A, B, or the mustache guy? We are on all podcast platforms, so please come check us out. October is coming up, and you know what we do on October? Halloween cases. So go listen to our old episode of Halloween cases and tell us what you like about those, because new ones are coming out. Give us a 5-star rating. Please like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube, and tell me your theories. This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
Don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye. See you next week.
Lesbian detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, let's be a detective. Let's be a detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready. Let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the lesbian detectives.